You know
Fuck
what I
off,
don't
Craig.
like about Craig is if he lived in America, they'd call him Craig.
Oh, I don't care for that. I'm not
I've
having it.
never understood that.
What they're playing at.
Poor old Craig.
It's like
Or
how they call
Craig.
Bernard Cornwell. Bernard Cornwell.
Anyway,
Leicestershire.
here we
Fucking
are
ridiculous. I need
on
to
the
stop.
first ever mustard movie night that is recorded over Discord.
Oh, is that actually
moving now.
Because the virus has claimed everything that we held dear, and we're all holed up in our houses just using the internet to satisfy our desire to connect with the outside world.
That is correct. Happy lockdown, everyone.
Happy lockdown.
Are you
I've been working on my... Sorry.
You're wearing your grubby little joggers. I know I am.
I heard that he's wearing shorts in anger at the moment.
I am wearing shorts and a vest.
And at this point, I think it's suitable to give a shout out to our good friend Mike Everest.
Oh, yes.
For wearing shorts in anger and teaching us how to do that.
But
I salute you.
Saying that it's possible.
If I could be half as masculine as that particular individual, then I'd I'd be climbing a tree right now. That's an indirect sort of reference in my mind to a film that we might actually come to watch in another episode.
Ah, fair enough. Okay, I'll be excited to link back to that eventually.
I don't know what that means.
Well, the quote, the actual quote goes, "Any more masculine? What is it? Any more masculine than him, and he'd be climbing up a tree."
All right. Well, shall we get down to business then, gentlemen? Gentlemen, business.
Gentlemen, business. Gentlemen, please.
So, Simon, you introduced this film to us. So, do you want to say a little bit about it?
It's my favourite childhood film. It's called The Wild Geese, and it's from 1978, and it's about some aging mercenaries who go back to do one last job. One last job!
Was it I didn't realise it was that recent.
Well, no. Well, everyone looks older in the 70s, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was set that recently. I thought it was older, like 60s or something, but it makes sense because it's got a lot of political undertones.
It's a bit controversial.
It stars a lot of our favourite people. After all, it's got Richard Harris in it
and Richard Burton.
This is a
and Roger
sort
Moore.
of continuation of our last episode of History's Maddest Bastards, isn't it? Because we featured Harris.
There's a definite link there.
Well, actually, Robert Sellers, who writes most of the source material that we use for the History podcast, calls it the archetypal Hellraiser movie.
What, that movie?
Yeah, well, it's because it had a lot of them in it, and it nearly had.
Oh yeah. In fairness, it has the scene where Richard Harris is basically showing people how he would act on a night out.
Oh, when they go to the casino.
Yeah.
We're on a detailed diplomatic mission. We have to go find this man. Let's go to the club.
Then he does a weird little accent, like, "Hey, is this table hot? Hey, blackjack.
Honey. Hey, Eddie, honey. How do I know your name? I know your name because it's my job to know, Eddie, honey."
Which is how he must have behaved when he was battered, which is bizarre.
What did he said, "I got a genuine blackjack, and I'm hotter than a fox."
It's so weird. But actually, he very nearly wasn't in the film.
That's right, because it was Burt Lancaster was supposed to star in it before he was.
Yeah, but Burt Lancaster wanted to be the main character, so he got sacked.
Yeah.
But the studio really didn't want Richard Harris because he'd just been in a film called Golden Rendezvous, and he cost the studio $1.5 million in 70s money, and it's because he was drinking too much and he kept rewriting the script.
Yeah, well, they sort of held half of his pay hostage for this one, didn't they? Basically, they held half of his pay for this film hostage, from what I read on IMDb.com, and they were going to take any damages out of his pay like that. And the only reason Richard Harris agreed to it was so that the director or producer, so that he would do it as well. But the director obviously had no problem with his own money being held in.
Well, the producer was really committed though, because he actually sold his car, his wife's fur coat, and he mortgaged his house. So he really believed in Richard Harris, which is
really wanted this film to take off the ground, to get off the ground.
Oh God!
I've
And
read in some places that people are kind of comparing it to Where Eagles Dare.
it's really similar to that. Well, a lot of the crew worked on Bond films as well, so you can kind of see
It also
that.
has Richard Burton in both movies, and
Yes.
Oh yes.
At least I think it does, as far as I remember.
Yeah,
Was
they
it Where
do.
Eagles Dare, where everything explodes?
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like a Land Rover, they jump out of a Land Rover, it rolls into a plane, and they both explode.
It's basically Wolfenstein, but without Nazi ghosts.
We should probably watch that as well. I really enjoyed The Wild Geese. I didn't know what to expect, but I was quite pleasantly surprised.
It's
and
a good
I think it's
film.
To be honest, beyond Harry Potter and Unforgiven and that sort of thing, Harry.
If anyone hasn't listened,
what was that about the Gringotts goblins?
They're funding the IRA, so they are. I've received some feedback for that particular moment in our podcast, and it was rather favourable of me saying that.
Lots of people laughing. That counts as feedback.
It raised a few snorts, I believe.
If people don't know, Richard Harris played Dumbledore when he was very old. Because in this, he's more of an action man, but in that, he's just Harry!
If you haven't watched that episode of History's Maddest Bastards, then I'll thoroughly recommend you to do so, listeners. And if you haven't met our illustrious judge, Stephen Harrison, he is one of the most notorious train thieves of the 19th century. In fact, he stole an average of 12 trains every year from 1863 to 1579.
Yeah, then he killed that boy, didn't he?
Yeah, it went backwards. I actually went backwards through time, stealing trains.
His career literally went off the rails after that.
Oh, that was terrible.
Here we go.
So what did you think of the film, Stefan? Did you like it?
I really enjoyed this movie. I wasn't sure going into it, I'll admit my initial impressions was, right, so basically it's a bunch of rusty old geezers just about to go on an adventure, which, that's interesting enough, but I wasn't sure that it'd be, I don't really like films that are just loads of shooting. I'm a man who prefers swords and axes and heroic gentlemen and that sort of thing. But these guys were pretty damn heroic, if you ask me.
They are rusty though. You can sort of tell with.
They're very rusty. One of my favourite bits, actually, now that you mentioned that, is the bit where they're kind of interviewing them all and saying, "Right, you've got the job, boy," and there's like at least 3 people walked in and said like, "Oh, I'm 43, sir," but they're obviously in their like late 50s, early 60s.
Oh, that's the guy. One of them was that Scottish fella, rank of sergeant, maybe, and he's going, "Oh, I just like fighting with weapons or otherwise."
Yeah.
Okay, what was your rank? Now, what year were you born? He's going 19. And they go, well, none of that, Sonny Jim.
Yeah. I've got a fun bloody fact about that actor, Ronald Fraser. He was basically drunk for years, and then in the middle of filming this, he just told Roger Moore, "If I have another drink, I'll die." So he quit.
Isn't Ronald Fraser the one who, instead of drinking, he took to smoking the local weed?
Yes, along with Richard Burton and Richard Harris.
He was a proper fighting grandpa type.
Wait a minute. So where did they film this then? That's what I'm interested.
Well, it was a bit controversial at the time. They filmed it in South Africa during apartheid,
and it did.
Some of
the proceeds did fund the apartheid regime, didn't it?
The part of the film did, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Christ. All right then.
Yeah, at least the government that was in place that was running apartheid at the time, they were pleased that genuine South African actors did star in the film instead of like African American actors and British actors as well.
It's the weird thing about the film because the message is sort of everyone should get along and live together, but it's funded by the naughty government.
And they went to film it in the place where the black actor in the film wouldn't have had the same rights as the other guys.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
But it's a political minefield, isn't it? Social rights and
I find politics a minefield in general, really.
But we got the film out of it, so that's good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this film, actually. There's an actor who plays one of the 4 officers, who plays Lieutenant Lieutenant Coetzee, and I can't remember his name.
Oh,
But
Harvey Kruger.
Yeah, that's the guy. He played a South African actor. Apparently, the actor himself had a German accent, so they made him a Boer rather than
it's weird.
From Rhodesia, as he was originally written. But he is one of the main driving forces behind sort of recognition of people from different race being actually worthy of respect. And
he's mainly quite a nice guy. But I've got an interesting fact about him, though. He was in the SS.
Oh yes, he was in the German army during the Second World War.
Yeah, I mean, he was 16 at the time and he got drafted, but towards the end of the war, because at the start it was hard to get into it, but towards the end they would just take everyone.
When the Russians are coming, you just take anyone you can get.
Yeah, but he was actually in the SS, which is
fun and frolics with the young Volk boys, eh?
Yes, but because
that's the problem. Some of the young Volk, you're a kid, you don't know anything. Really, all these politics and that sort of thing are way above your head, and you think it's just like a big old scout camp. And my God, what an organised scout camp it must have been!
I don't think I would have enjoyed the Youth on Balance.
But for me, I was just going to say this film kind of it brings one particular phrase to mind, which at this point I think we're kind of known for this phrase, which is it's a question actually rather than just a phrase. And it's the question of, do you want to fight with Grandpa?
That is a prevalent theme throughout this film, I think. I'm not even sure who would get the prize for the most fighty Grandpa title, but I think it might be the Sergeant Major.
Probably, yeah.
Actually, I know exactly who it is.
Simon, can you just tell us a little bit about the Sergeant Major character and the actor?
Well, the actor himself he was I don't know what the rank is, but he was the version of that in the Navy. So he spent years shouting at people. But
actually, now that you mention that, sorry, he was a physical education, PE physical instructor in the Navy at one point. So he was a veteran.
He does have some of my favourite lines, like "Get up, you fucking abortion!"
I'll sew your arsehole shut.
That was a good one.
Oh, and your favourite one, wasn't it?
Yeah, the phrase that you kind of made your trademark phrase during childhood.
Oh yeah. Well, this is a spoiler. Basically, the plot is that they go to rescue this African president. He's sort of a Nelson Mandela type guy, which is weird that the South African government let them film it because he was in Bradley prison at the time. It all goes to shit, and there's a bit where he says, "You can let go, Mr. President. He's dead." And as a child, I got obsessed with this one line. So whenever, like when children pretend they've been fouled at football and they like roll around, I used to like go up and like kick him, like, "He's dead, Mr. President." And even when I was a teenager, I used to get in trouble because when I started drinking, I'd like at parties, I used to drag people out of the house and shouting, "We've got to get out, Mr. President." I would just decide I was going to rescue Mr. President. And
it's your dream in life, is it?
No, to rescue I just love that word.
Simon, I would love to see a film where you rescue the president. Somebody dies and the president's clutching onto him and you go, "Mr. You're leaving now." So he's dead.
Sorry, go on.
It's weird recording this way. I think some of your silly friends play that Mr. President game though.
Yeah, definitely. I think
what?
It's the sort of game where it gives you an excuse to rugby tackle someone and then just justify it by saying, "Get down, Mr. President."
It's amazing.
There's a story about rugby tackling, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Simon, have you got that?
I've got... Do you want me to say it?
Yeah.
At the end of the movie film, we're going to... I mean, you should probably watch it before listening to it. They're all trying to escape...
The movie film.
Hit pause now, watch the movie and come back to us.
They're all trying to get on a plane. One of the actors was saved by Richard Harris, of all people, because he was nearly decapitated by the plane.
Really?
Got him out of the way.
Graham Clark nearly died because, the wing was about to hit him in the head.
What's amazing is one of the actors called Ian Newell said it was the most heroic thing he'd ever seen. but Ian Yule had a massive influence on this film. He's, the sort of Cockney sergeant who he sort of turns up at the beginning when they're recruiting everyone. He's like, "I've done 10 years in the Paris," and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's the guy with the big moustache.
Well, that's... Sorry, carry
on. He was the technical advisor on the film. He'd fought in the Korean War. He went on to join the SAS, and he was eventually in the South African Army and then the Rhodesian Army. But in the 1960s, he was a real-life mercenary.
And he served under a particular officer of note, didn't he?
Yeah.
Can we hear a little bit about him?
One day we'll probably do a whole History's Maddest Bastards on this guy. The character played by Richard Burton is based on Mad Mike Hoare, who was amazing. He died this year at the age of 100.
Really? Oh, what a fighting grandpa.
After this film was made, when he was in his 60s, he went to prison in the Seychelles because he tried to carry out a coup there. He did it by him and some of his men took Kalashnikovs in their hand luggage somehow, and then tried to take over the airport, and it all went wrong.
Oh dear!
It was an interesting man, but Ian Yule has an amazing filmography. He was a stuntman and actor for years, but he always played like military types.
Yeah, but, no wonder.
I'd like to read out some of the films he's been in.
Okay.
Is that all right? He was in Killer Force.
Killer Force.
Vengeance Cops. River of Death. Banana Beach.
They don't make them like these anymore. Wait, Banana Beach?
Sounds like a
Banana Beach. He was in Mr. Deathman.
Mr. What? Hey,
Safari. Another one called Safari 3000.
What, in the year 3000?
I don't know. City of Blood.
Can we watch that?
Yes, I watch all these. Lunar Cop. Cyborg Cop 3. Space Mutiny, and
he liked his sci-fi, didn't he?
But this is one that we've already talked about, a film called Rage to Kill.
Rage to Kill, the one with Ollie Reed in?
Yes!
That is my Willie.
So many links.
Willie.
It all links together, boys. But
it's circular. It's circular. You see that? It's circular.
That film's ridiculous because he's sort of Oliver Reed's the baddie, and he's like his sidekick, and he spends the whole film just going like. I've
got to see more of Ian Yule.
Oh, yeah. Ian Yule was amazing. He was just a maniac. Oh, I've got a story about Ian Yule. He said he was going to teach everyone to fight, and then he was asked not to because every time he said, I'll show you how to do a move, he would just end up with a knife at their throats, shouting at them.
Little bleeder! Why don't you get the fuck up?
He went out for a drink with Roger Moore when they were making it, and some people came into the pub and were being a bit rowdy. And because Roger Moore had been an officer in the British Army, he called him sir all the time. And went, "Sir, permission to sort them out, sir." And he thought Ian Yule was sort of having a joke. Went, "Oh, yes, go sort them out." And then he went over and just headbutted all of them.
What, all at the same time or one by one?
I don't know. It's on the commentary of this film. Like Roger Moore saying, "I was having a lovely evening, and then Ian Yule headbutted all these men, and then they started crying and bleeding, and I decided to call it a night."
Oh dear!
Excellent.
It was a mad bloody man. Do you want any more facts about the movie?
Yeah, I want loads of facts.
Richard Burton was famous for being a massive alcoholic. He was actually a bigger drinker than Richard Harris.
What did he drink? What did he get through in a day?
He used to drink 3 bottles of spirits a day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the evening.
Crikey.
The insurers wanted proof that Richard Burton no longer had a bottle of vodka next to his bed, which he always used to have. But to make the film, he said he'd only do it if he could have as much tab as he wanted.
Tab? Oh, like the Crystal Cola sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's like a shitty Dr. Pepper type drink, but he was really into it.
I remember seeing it when I was young and thinking, oh, it's transparent, but it tastes like Coke.
Those were the days, weren't they?
Those were the days. Oh, you don't know you're born, you little bird.
Oh, so they had to fly in 2,000 bottles of it just for him. Just like whenever he wanted a drink, he'd have a tab. He had really bad back pain during the film, and shortly after it was made, he had an operation, and they found out his entire spine was coated in crystallized alcohol.
Yes, it says, because I've been reading up just like a lame-o on imdb.com trivia. And it says that at the age of 51, Richard Burton was in ill health during filming and found some of the more physical scenes a challenge. And I'm not bloody surprised. Can I just say that the theme for this film seems to be
Just old men.
age.
Old men
Yeah.
old.
It's all the actors are way older than I thought any mercenary unit would accept. I mean, granted, there's probably no age restrictions on mercenary units, but they say age over experience counts for a lot, but bloody hell, they had a
Apparently,
lot of
Mad
experience.
Mike Tor did hire one Scottish piper to be a sergeant major, but he was like the one older guy who was about 60.
Yeah.
But apparently that guy was terrifying, so he was like, I'll have him with me.
I'm not surprised. Bloody hell. But was it Jack Watson played the Sergeant Major?
Major!
And he thought he was too old for the film, but they asked him to be in it. And it was a bloody good job they did have him as well, because he was amazing.
It was amazing.
I mean, people think Gunnery Sergeant Hartman from Full Metal Jacket was good. And he was great. It's just this is a very, very British version of Gunnery Sergeant Hartman.
He just sort of shouts at people.
Oh, any man that steps out of line, I will kill them sight. I do not give a shit.
Another thing that's come to mind now for me is just the fact that when they're kind of discussing their plans in the film for how they're going to, I don't want to spoil too much, but when they're going to attack this airfield, it sounded like they almost had quite a feasible plan, and I thought, they
had a very nice scale model drawn up.
They did. They had maps and scale models, and they all seemed to know what they were about. So I thought, this is going to be quite an intriguing scene to watch. No special effects, but hopefully it will seem kind of realistic. And then they just go and attack in daytime.
I really thought that assault was going to be done at night as well, and we did see evidence of that light for night technique, didn't we?
There's actually a point where they say, one of them says, but there's 100 meters of open ground around the whole complex. Like, how are we going to get close enough to take out the sentries? And by that, I thought they meant there were like, thick bushes and maybe some trees around the area. But what there actually is there's about 4 or 5 bushes that a whole group of about 25 men just kind of crouched down behind in their green uniforms that contrast quite heavily with the pale brown.
How about we all wear red berets and green?
Africa is quite hot and dry, right? Yes, we'll all wear green.
Oh, well, that is, I forgot to say earlier, when Ian Yule was hired, because he'd been a real mercenary, he said, we've got to get the boss involved. So they brought in Mad Mike Tor. And if you look at photos of people like the Rhodesian Army or the South African Army during the Cold War, they were really into short shorts.
Yeah. The Sergeant Major wears short shorts when they're doing that training scene.
You'd think, because there's a lot of kneeling down and throwing yourself out on the ground. You wouldn't want to get a sandy knee. But
army of Steve Owens.
But Mad Mike Tor had a thing about short shorts. He hated them. He thought they were indecently short. So any man under his command had to wear trousers.
Right, now, guys, what do we think was each of our favourite moments in the film? I'll go first. I think the best moment for me was where they go to sort of get Roger Moore's character out of trouble, and there's a bunch of thugs that turn up outside to fulfill the contract on Roger Moore and take him out. And Richard Harris just pulls a hand grenade out of his pocket because apparently he just has them lying around.
Oh yeah, he took them out of his pocket. They said, "What are you carrying?" And
and then he walks up to the door, and it looks like he's going to open the door and chuck the grenade outside. But what he does instead is he just punches through the door.
A wooden door. I could honestly believe that that's not a stunt prop door. that was just a genuine door, and they didn't know he was going to do that. I could believe that.
Yeah, it's possibly the most Irish thing I've ever seen.
Oh, Dickie Harris has punched through my fucking door.
Well, when they filmed it, the director had to sign paperwork at the end of the day to say Richard Harris was sober.
Yes, because both Richard Burton and Richard Harris were on the wagon during the film, so they were sober through every scene. Which, because I was watching it hoping to see some drunken Dickie Harris lunatics antics, but no, it was disappointing.
We got a little bit of those, but
well, there was actually one night when Richard Harris fell off the wagon, and because Roger Moore was the only one who was still out drinking. He went into the same bar Roger Moore was in, and apparently just kicked the doors open and went, 24 Irish coffees for everyone.
Apparently, Richard Harris did have one lapse, but most of the time he was on the wagon. But apparently Roger Moore quipped that he was the only wild member of the cast.
I know, it's sad really, because it was just after they'd all calmed down, but the film wouldn't have happened if they were how they used to be.
But apparently Roger Moore was seen by somebody outside his accommodation. He was stood on the lawn in his underpants with a garden hose rinsing water onto his head, just recovering from a night of drinking. But Roger Moore was always able to keep it in control, apparently.
There's a mental bit of trivia that I picked.
That's the old trick.
Yeah, well, there's a weird bit of trivia that turned up on, because I listened to the commentary today that had Roger Moore on it. He doesn't like loud noises.
Oh, he used to flinch every time he fired his gun, didn't he?
Yeah, like there's a bit where he flinches a bit when he's shooting and say, "You didn't like the guns, did you?" He's like, "Oh no, I hate loud noises." I'm like, "You were James Bond."
I have a confession to make. I never really liked Roger Moore as James Bond. When I was growing up, and on ITV or something, they had a marathon of every single Bond film, and my dad and I sat and watched them all. We went from bloody Connery to George Lazenby to was Moore next after that?
Yeah, he was after Lazenby.
Yeah, I remember seeing that and just thinking, who the hell is this? I mean, they were great films, but I never really liked Roger Moore as James Bond just because he wasn't Sean Connery.
I quite liked him.
He didn't have black hair.
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
It was a bit of a silly Bond. Oh, I shall slap you across the chops, you villain.
I think he had some good one-liners, but
could you pour me a vodka martini?
Oh, I like Roger Moore.
I liked him.
Roger Moore, we used to call him.
So, what about you guys? What was your favourite moment of the film?
I
know what Simon's is, I think.
Actually, I've already said I've got too many favourite characters, but I love Whitty, who's
the gay guy.
I was really surprised that they went with that character the way that they did. Even nowadays, you wouldn't get away with that stuff.
Oh, it would have been controversial now because the actor he's an openly gay character, but the actor who played him wasn't. But apparently, when he was
he said, "I know lots of homosexuals."
He said they're my dearest friends.
But the way he played him was so much a caricature of homosexual. That it was ridiculous. Like, oh, I'll be back to see you when you get back with gauze and penicillin. Keep your lovely bums clean for me. What the hell? He went out in a blaze of glory. That guy. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's a spoiler. He does that classic thing that people do in films where they're like, "Oh, you go, I'll hold them off," and they just fuck off. They don't be like, "Oh no, wait, you don't do that." They just go.
But I wonder how much of that was script writing and how much of it was just. I know some gay guys. I'm going to play every gay guy I've ever known in one character and just wave my hands about and go, "Oh, I like bums." He was
there's a bit where, when they're writing their wills.
Elton John.
Yeah, do you remember the bit?
Incidentally, reminds me a bit of you, Simon. Actually.
What, Elton John?
I'm Elton John.
What, the Vogue Electra Elton John?
Just that he runs about shouting at people that he's going to assault.
I'm you into the middle of next week.
Very much so.
But no, I liked it because he wasn't really the butt of the joke. Like in the 70s,
hi-oh.
In the 70s, a gay character would often be sort of looked down on, but he's actually quite heroic and he sort of lives life his own way.
Oh, he was great. And the men loved him as well. I mean, in a combat sense, they didn't. There were no scenes of them going, "Oh, what are you doing, you bloody wolfed up?"
Yeah.
There's a bit where they're asking him who he's leaving all his money to when they're writing the wills, and he goes like, "The kindest proctologist I've ever known."
And he says, "What's that?"
Bum doctor.
Bum doctor. I can't believe he is an awesome character, that guy, but I didn't really think he was played very realistically at all.
Oh no, well he's about 100 years old and he's shooting on people who like come at him with machetes, and he pulls a knife and goes, "My, aren't you
my lovelies, come to me, my love."
Aren't you a load of big bastards? It's such a pity we can't be friends. As he pulls out this motherfucker of a knife, and he just the first guy's running at him with a machete, and he just grabs the guy's machete arm and then stabs him in the chest.
Yeah,
eventually he gets taken down. He went out like a champ. That character.
He had the best death.
But there was no. I think the flouncing around was a tad excessive.
Well, he's 70s weird, but I mean, these days that character, like, you just probably like leave a husband behind, and in this he's just like, "Woo! It's the 70s. It hasn't come up to get me yet." Woo!
They call him witty. I was surprised that they said that he had a husband in that film, because there's a point when he says, "Have I got time to get a divorce?" And they go, "You got 36 hours." And he goes, "Oh, thank God." See the look on his face.
I think that was a joke at the time, but he was a good character.
He was a great character. It's just the character was...
Yeah.
You wouldn't get away with that these days.
Nah,
so, Matt, what was your favourite moment?
I've got to confess, I do like the bit with the Sergeant Major training everybody, including the officer, and says, "Yeah, you will go at double for 20 paces, then run for 20 paces, then dive on your bellies." And then even Roger Moore, who's an officer, is like, "You better get up, sir, or I'll kick your fucking head in." Those who know me, no, those who don't know me are in for a big, nasty fucking surprise. Those who do know me, it's going to be more or whoever.
To command that kind of respect.
Reminds me of Billy Connolly in The Last Samurai. Have you seen that?
It was a bit like that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Does anyone remember the bit with the parachute training?
Where they jump off the scaffold?
What are you waiting for, a push?
There's a bit where Roger Moore does like a sort of Bond roll, and he goes, "That was ludicrous, sir. You are jumping out of an aircraft, not a whorehouse window."
Yeah.
Did it again.
Yeah. Do it again.
Do it again, you can.
He's just like, "Yes, sir."
You can. If Bricktop was your Sergeant Major.
Listen here, you can't. Have you heard of Nemesis?
I don't care if you broken both your legs, you can't. Maybe I should reel back on the C words.
Nah, it's fine.
Do you reckon we should do an Ask Doug segment in this, or do we not?
Is he expecting a ring?
No, but he never is.
I don't like messing him about, because he might be expecting test results, like, "Oh, have I got it?" And then we just ring him up like, Doug!
Got what?
Were there any Italians?
He's gonna catch Italian. He already has.
Well, he's already got that, but bye.
Italian 19.
Hey?
Yeah.
It's contagious. I do declare that.
Because Matt might have it.
I don't have it.
No, he hasn't started having cravings for pasta and making gestures with his hands yet. Have you met?
Actually, I might have it. If that's what we're talking about. I don't have COVID-19.
Man, that's good. Don't want you giving it to me over the internet.
That's not possible, Simon. That's not how viruses work.
Oh, good. Would you like some more trivia?
Yeah, give us a bit more trivia, and I think we've kind of discussed it as much as we can, really.
Just watch the film, really. Oliver Reed is cast in it. I did.
Wait, what was that? Sorry, Oliver Reed was nearly cast in it.
Yeah, the producer who pushed for Richard Harris wanted him to be in it, and then they wanted Oliver Reed to be the South African character. And the finance...
What? That's ludicrous.
Well, he really likes that part of the world, so he's like, "Oh, I'd love to go out there with the dead boys. What fun we'd have!" And then thought, "Oh, no,
hi,
this is a
boys.
terrible idea." Also, Roger Moore's character was offered by the studio to O.J. Simpson first. And yes, because who would think he'd stab people?
Go OJ, go OJ.
This was because the studio was confused because it said in the script that he was Black Irish.
Wait.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, what else we got? The character of Jesse is played by John Carney. He's quite a famous actor in South Africa. Have you seen the Marvel movie?
The what?
The what? Sorry, you cut out there. The Marvel movie.
The Marvel movies. The movies that Marvel does.
Did you say Marvel movies or Marvel?
Yeah. Yes, the movies about the marbles, yeah. That actor who's Jesse in this film, he's Black Panther's dad.
Oh, I see.
So that's a bit of trivia.
That is interesting.
Also, you know,
Sergeant Jesse. He
yeah,
was a genuine South African actor.
The young guy, yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, there's a whole reason 2 actors are in it. There's him and there's Glyn Baker, who plays Esposito. Yeah. And if you remember, throughout the film, they're always shouting Esposito, Esposito, gather!
Yeah, he's the first one to jump off that wooden structure to practice landing.
And him and John Carney are in it because they needed basically actors under 50 to carry the president about because Richard Burton couldn't do it. So they're just like, get these young people in.
I did wonder why they made the same couple of guys carry him about. Also, that president annoyed me.
Why did he annoy you?
He was so pathetically unable to walk.
I think he was.
You've had a heart attack. He can probably walk.
Jesus Christ!
I remember we were watching it. There's a bit where, like the racist character, who's sort of a baddie for a bit, and then he sort of has a change of heart. He dumps the president by a tree. Like, I'm not carrying you. And Matt was like, yes, that's right. Make that man walk.
Walk yourself, you bastard.
Don't care if
I despise feebleness. I'm not that bad. But, can I just talk about, when they're introducing all the characters and Roger Moore's there facing down his mob boss employer with a gun, you should have told me I was carrying heroin. I don't do drugs ever. It's my religion.
Yeah.
He sort of points a gun at the bodyguard of the mob boss and the mob boss, like the son of a local mob boss. And then he shoots one in the head and forces the other one to eat a bag of heroin. That's a bit unexpected.
It's quite brutal for a film because it was made by the Bond people. So my parents let me watch it when I was too young, really. They're like, this will be fine. And it's pretty mental.
Because that's directly following the bit where Dickie Harris and I can't call him, that's what I know him as now, Richard Burton go into the casino because they're looking around for him. He plays Sean Finn as Roger Moore. They're looking around for him because he's wanted because he did the whole mob boss son assassination. So that came directly before that, actually. And then they go, sorry, I'm wittering like an old drunk uncle.
No, you remember in the movie when Roger Moore turns up, makes him eat a bag of drugs?
I think I'm remembering it in the wrong order. Roger Moore makes a mob boss's son eat a bag of heroin, and then he goes into hiding. And then Richard Burton and Dickie Harris are going to the club to try and find Roger Moore, and Roger Moore's holed up inside that flat. And then Dickie Harris punches through a door, drops a grenade through.
As you do.
And then they go, some guy just shouts up the stairs going, the contract's been lifted. Get out of there. And then Dickie Harris comes out of the room and goes, these fellas could have done well from waiting 3 minutes.
It's a bad example of, in the 70s, when they made films in Britain, they'd often have actors doing bad American accents. So the sort of stage going,
I'm pretty sure that Richard Harris was doing that when he went into the casino.
For no reason.
Randy, you don't come in here. Get out. Yeah, you two bozos, women, get out of my room. I'll see you in a minute.
Exactly like that.
Mob boss comes in snogging two women and only notices after about 20 seconds time that there's Roger Moore in the room.
Yeah.
Would that ruin your evening if Roger Moore turns up with a bag of heroin and he's like, "You've got to eat all of this. You've got to
I think
if
he would.
If he was pointing a gun at me, I'd take my chances with the gun rather than eat a bag of heroin.
Would that make you poorly?
Well, Roger Moore says, "Don't hope for a stomach pump. It's got strychnine in it."
Oh, yeah.
You're
I'm pretty sure the amount
20 minutes.
that he consumed would do you.
That'd be fatal. Your only hope would be sort of vomiting everything up straight away, I guess. But I don't know how heroin works.
That's my answer to most things, really.
I mean, you said something about what heroin tastes like.
Well, I don't know. Allegedly, if you smoke it, it's chocolatey, but I don't know.
I have no idea. I've never.
We don't know. We don't know.
If you do eat heroin,
please write it.
Yeah, please send us a message on the YouTube.
Can you even eat it? I don't know.
Well, the thing is, right? So, I mean, I won't go into this too much, but I have heard that people in prison smoke heroin, and I'd never heard of that before. I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently you can.
Ricky Gervais does it on Afterlife.
So, I mean, to smoke it, it has to be in like a solid form rather than the injectable form, I guess. So,
isn't it derived from poppies? So it's like a refined form of opium.
Delicious,
so
I guess.
Poppy seeds, and apparently, well, I try not to say too much, but a certain company I may work for at this point in time, where they let people in for medical trials, you have to report if you've eaten poppy seeds.
Really?
Because they're technically an opiate.
When this job's over, are you going to turn up in a little flat cap, right, Richard? Like Roger Moore, and be like, "You didn't tell me they were drugs." Well, Matt, the last day got you a cake.
I don't think you didn't tell
it. I'd like to think that in the future, like we'll be able to look back at ourselves as kind of the Hellraisers of our time, even though we're kind of pathetic in comparison to these guys.
Well, I've had several glasses of Amontillado sherry throughout the recording of this. So,
I'm
maybe
sitting.
I'll get the book of my own.
Well, we're already halfway there, aren't we?
Yeah,
we're halfway there.
Yeah, it's fun drinking at home on your own. I'm licking it a hand pump of hand sanitizer like a gerbil.
How have you been spending your lockdown, Simon?
Wanking mainly.
Oh, like a champ.
I am finding whole new categories. There's a lot of stuff out there.
Categories.
Look, I don't understand feet. I'll never get
it. They're like hands, but longer.
Like long hands that you walk on.
I think we've broken Stefan.
I just wasn't expecting that, really.
But look, if someone
they're like hands, but you walk on them.
But if someone steps right out of a shower, they've still got to walk on the floor to get to the bed. You wouldn't want their feet anywhere near your face.
How long would it take how long walking on barefoot would it take to get calluses sufficient to the point where you could run around in Africa with the local?
What, just in case we ever need to take an airport in daytime and we absolutely can't make any noise? Yeah.
Well, like, the ground would be really hot there because it's warm.
Well, yeah. Oh, dear. Anyway, lads, I think we've discussed this film sufficiently for this to be considered almost something resembling a podcast.
Yeah, so it wasn't entertaining. We're sat around.
Yeah, have we got any final words for our listeners? All three of them.
Shout out to all our compatriots also locked down, which is everyone. And hope that you're taking care of yourselves. And if you haven't got any food, you should have stocked up beforehand, you idiots.
Should have panic buy like the rest of us.
Yes, mung beans and jalapenos.
Airport-sized Toblerone.
Hey, duty free, don't you know? Yeah. The people I feel really sorry for are the drug dealers, really. because they're not allowed to go outside unless it's absolutely necessary. So if they get fined by the police, how are they able to continue their trade? Eh?
I guess they have to turn up in your room dressed as Roger Moore and get you to eat heroin and then steal all your money.
Yeah, with a flat cap on, saying, "You knew it was drugs, didn't you?"
Anyway, I think that's about it. So,
how long have we gone now?
I don't know. It doesn't time it. Our
like
little
an
robot.
hour. Long enough.
I think this might be slightly longer than our previous
Fuck
one.
off and leave me alone.
I refuse to leave you alone. You've got such a tasty bum.
Oh, God.
Oh, bring your bum over here. No.
Right, now, in the final 5 seconds, can everyone please shout out the name of their favourite dictator? Go.
Mugabe?
Yeah, Mugabe was good.
All right, well,
Donald Trump.
That's unanimous at this point. So, yeah.
Tony
He had
Blair.
a little Filtrum moustache.
That would have been the perfect time to ask Doug and bring him in and see if he says Mussolini. But, yeah.
Mussolini. Hey,
and on that bombshell, it's time to end. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Get out, poor sweet boy. Pibbs!
Fuck off, you shit.
Nipples.